Hey, welcome to Drunk History, all the Targaryen Kings. I have wine, a margarita, all this right here. So I'm just gonna go through the entire rule of the Targaryen Kings. First, we start with Big Daddy Aegon. Let me let you know a little thing about me. This is my first YouTube video. I don't know what I'm doing. So, Big Daddy Aegon. He is the first Targaryen king. And the thing with him is that the thing that makes him so powerful is that he has a dragon. His dragon is Balerion the Black Dread. According to written history, Balerion the Black Dread is actually the biggest dragon ever recorded. The thing you need to know about dragons in Westerosi Planetos terms is that the color of the scales match the color of their dragon fire. So Balerion is black, so his fire is actually black. And Aegon had a sword called Blackfire. And the reason it's called Blackfire is because his dragon breathed black fire because he was Balerion the Black Dread. Okay, so he had a dragon and he had a sword named Blackfire. What was special about the sword is that it was Valyrian steel. Valyrian steel is like the rarest metals on Westeros. How much would Valyrian steel cost today? In today's time, I think a Valyrian steel sword would cost as much as a spaceship. Like if you wanted to buy a spaceship from Elon Musk or NASA or something, that would be like the cost of Valyrian steel. Okay, so he had those two weapons. He also had some more weapons. His two sisters, who were also his two wives, Visenya and Rhaenys. Visenya was his oldest sister. She was kind of stern, she was kind of mean, but she was a warrior. She had her own Valyrian sword called Dark Sister. And it's such a awesome name for a sword, Dark Sister, especially because she was his darker sister. So there was Rhaenys and Visenya. Rhaenys was a nice one. She was the dreamer. She was the romantic. You would paint her as a Sansa, kind of. And then Visenya was more of like an Arya, just because she was like a warrior. She was stern. She was kind of like no nonsense. Which, I mean, Arya wasn't that in the beginning. Let's just compare them just with being warriors. So he had his two sisters that he wed. He wed Visenya out of duty because she was the firstborn, but he wed Rhaenys out of love because she was just lovable. So little pre-Westeros history. So Westeros was divided into 8 kingdoms. They were constantly warring, which was the North, the Westerlands, the Riverlands, the Iron Islands, the Stormlands, the Reach, and Dorne. North, Westerlands, Riverlands, Iron Islands, the Stormlands, the Reach, and Dorne. How about Old Town? Old Town? I'm forgetting one. Old Town, Vale, the Vale. The Vale. Old Town's part of the Reach. So 8 kingdoms. When Aegon and his sisters took Dragonback, because they were just chilling on Dragonstone and they would like take these flights. When they were on Dragonback and they looked down and they saw the land, they didn't see it as 8 kingdoms. It was one chunk of land. So they were like, this is one country. They saw it as one country. Aegon decided that he's going to be the king of this continent because he saw it as one. And so he decided to do that. So he went region to region, conquering, burning, killing everyone. But Aegon was very much like Daenerys. If you know nothing about the Targaryen Kings and you've only watched the show, think of Daenerys as a man. Aegon wanted to conquer, but he always gave his opponents a chance. He was always like, just bend the knee and everything will be okay. And like some lords did that, like the North. He knelt, he bent the knee, and he was able to keep his name. Nobody died. He still had, his people still paid taxes to him. Nothing really changed, except his title. Instead of being a king, he was a lord. Dorne, he never really conquered Dorne, and Dorne actually ended up killing Rhaenys, his favorite wife, his younger sister. They shot a bolt through her dragon's eye. And yeah, So because of that, Dorne was never conquered. Dorne was its separate kingdom for quite a while into the Targaryen reign. Okay, so that was a tragedy. But King Harren the Black from House Hoare, Hoare is spelled H-O-A-R-E, okay? From House Hoare, he decided to challenge Big Daddy Aegon. Who would do such a thing? Who would challenge a dragon? But he had just built this big monstrosity of a castle. Harrenhal, to this date, is the biggest castle in Westeros. So, Harren the Black from House Hoare decided that he told Aegon, oh, I built my castle in stone. This shit doesn't burn. And so Aegon goes, bet. Aegon flies up, Aegon flies down, and torches the whole thing. The entire line of House Hoare ended that day. And who took the Riverlands? House Tully. They were never kings. They were just kind of like stewards. But they're the ones that kind of surrendered. So the Tullys took charge of the Riverlands. And in the Iron Islands, years later, the Greyjoys would take over. Who else didn't surrender? Okay, Durrandon, the Stormlands, they foolishly didn't surrender and they burned. And Aegon's rumored half-brother, Baratheon, he took over. He married the Durrandon daughter, so that's there. The Gardeners, so that's the Reach, they didn't surrender. They wanted to fight. Of course, they died. House Gardner obliterated. And the Tyrells, the stewards, took over. Now, the Lannisters, as always, they're late to the game. Same thing you saw with Robert's Rebellion. They waited to see who the victor was. I don't know, whatever. It's just a coincidence that they came to the fight late and they missed the burning and they bent the knee. Aegon let them keep the Lannister names. Dorne, the Reach. Old Town just surrendered off rip. Yeah, the Vale was cute. The Vale was cute because it's a little bit of like women power, how women fight the game. So Visenya is Dark's sister, right? The son, who was like just like 8, 9 years old child, who was the heir to the Vale, and his mother was regent. The mother walked up to visit her son and walked into his room and saw Visenya sitting there with her son on Visenya's lap. And the son, as soon as he sees his mother, he's like, Mother, can I ride the dragon? So that's how women fight. It's very much that, unveiled threat and common sense. Visenya basically showed her, like, I'm in the room with your son and you don't even know it. You want to go to war against me? That's the kind of person Visenya was. So, of course, that day, the son did get to ride on that dragon, but when he returned, he was just a lord and not a king anymore. So that's how Aegon conquered all of Westeros. So after he became king, he was awesome, like great king to me. Aegon was #1 king of all time. Why was he #1 king of all time? He collected the swords of all his fallen foes, and he used Balerion, the Black Dreads, Black Fire, to forge this throne. And this throne was a monstrosity. And he did that on purpose. He wanted to prove that he did it on purpose. He of course, he had the means to make the chair comfortable and nice, but he didn't. He made it jagged and twisted so that you would have to kind of like sit like this, right? Because heavy is the head that wears the crown. What's that quote from? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. He knew he didn't want the king to sit easy. He didn't want the king to just like slouch on like a cushion with grapes being fed to him. He wanted the king to sit up and pay attention to what the realm needs. He began creating King's Landing and building that up. So his 2 wives each gave him 1 son. Rhaenys, his favorite wife, gave him his first son, which is Aenys, and then Visenya gave him Maegor. After Aegon died, rule obviously passed on to the firstborn, which is Aenys. And Aenys was a very like delicate boy. He liked music, he liked poetry, he was just chill. So that reflected in his rule. Now you have to imagine that there's the Faith of the Seven, and the Faith of the Seven did not like the fact that the Targaryens practice the Faith of the Seven did not like the fact that the Targaryens practiced incest. Like, that was like an abomination to them. But Aegon had dragons. Aegon had Blackfire. Aegon could fight. So they never tried him. But when he died and his, like, you know, weak son took over, they did try him. They even seized his children while they were making a progress across the realm to visit people. But Aenys had a strong brother, which was Maegor. Remember, Maegor is Viserys' child. Maegor was everything that Aenys was not. Maegor was militant. People listened to Maegor. He was huge. He was just, think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like at his prime. It's like, this man was built to fight. Like, he serves no purpose in the world other than to fight and fuck shit up. That was a Maegor. And Maegor was rumored to be cruel. Like, they said that he like gutted a cat, chopped a horse's head off, like for petty reasons. But hearsay. We'll get back to Maegor. So Aenys was weak, but he did have his brother to like enforce his rule. So it was okay. It was kind of like a partnership, right? But Aenys was king. So Aenys had children. He was married to Alyssa Valerion, but Aenys had his first son Aegon and his first daughter Rhaenyra. His first daughter Rhaenyra, he had them married. The Faith militant took advantage of that. They started calling Aenys King Abomination. Faith was like, what the fuck? We told you guys not to do that. We don't fuck with the incest. And the Faith militant was like an army. It was like the Night's Watch. It was like the Gold Cloaks. But after he died, Maegor took rule. Maegor took rule with the help of his mother. And the reason being is because I guess they thought that the realm needed a strong ruler. I actually agree with them. He usurped it, but Maegor was the third king. So what did Maegor do? Maegor's hold fast. He built up King's Landing a bit. He abolished the Faith militants. So like the church could only have a church, not an army. So that was like his law, which Cersei overruled. And she learned her lesson when she did that walk of shame. Shots! Maegor is known in history as Maegor the Cruel. I call him Maegor the Cool. And if you want to know why I think he's cool, watch the Order of the Green Hands video on Maegor. It completely changed my mind about Maegor. He did some bad things, but I think that he was good for the realm. So we got Maegor. So Maegor didn't leave any offspring because many people think that he was sterile. He had a lot of wives. He had a ceremony where he wed 3 brides at once. One of the brides was Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra was Aegon's wife. Aegon was the firstborn son of Aenys. Aenys was the second Targaryen king. Maegor, I didn't mention this. Oh, Maegor killed Aenys' son. He killed his nephew. He killed his brother's son. There's a lot that went on. I cannot go over it because Maegor's life was so complicated and I have to go through all the Targaryen kings. So just know that Maegor was called Maegor the Cruel for a reason. He had these tendencies. A lot of shit went down. Like I said, watch Order of the Green Hands video. So Maegor died childless. So who came into power? It would be Jaehaerys. Jaehaerys was one of the sons of Aenys. Remember, Aenys was the second king. So Jaehaerys took power. He was very young, but he married his sister Alysanne, and many consider him the best king of Westeros. I would say he is number 2 for me as best king of Westeros. Jaehaerys and Alysanne, the good thing about them is they used both of their powers. It wasn't just the king ruling. Alysanne was there. Alysanne was known to be very smart. Alysanne was up in the council. Alysanne was making, when they would do their progress around Westeros, Alysanne would hold court with the women and hear their grievances. That's how the Lord's first night was prima noctra, was abolished because she held court with the women and they told her, and I guess now I'm switching to the margarita because the wine is almost done. She She held court with the women. She's like, what's up? What's wrong? How can I help you? And they told her, like, we don't like the first night, or the Lord's right to the first night, or prima noctua, or whatever. And what that is basically back then, the Lord of the area, so like a Ned Stark, who was like the Lord of Winterfell, or Roose Bolton, who was the Lord of the Dreadfort, like people like that had the right of the first night. When you get married, the Lord of that land has the right to the bride before the husband. I can't even understand how this became a law. Who would agree to someone else fucking your wife before you? And the issue with the first night, there's so many issues with the first night. Like rape, first of all, but rape wasn't a thing in medieval times. Like that was just like normal, right? But so imagine you get your woman, you get married, the first person to have sex with you is the Lord of that region, and then you have sex with your husband, and 9 months later there's a baby. Whose baby is that? How is your Lord husband going to treat that baby? So needless to say, there was a lot of bastards born, and it was horrible. Alysanne was responsible for abolishing that. Alysanne was also responsible for giving the Night's Watch more land, money for a castle. They named a castle after her, the Queen's Fort. Jaehaerys is also known for having the longest rule. He ruled for 55 years. 55 years, baby. 55 years, baby. Hey, 55 years, baby. He ruled. Okay. It's not corona. Is it? Is it corona? No, it's not coronavirus. Another great thing that happened during that Jaehaerys and Alysanne were responsible for was the King's Road. The King's Road was a road that you can take pretty much from Dorne to the north. It united all of the kingdoms. Because the thing that Aegon didn't do, I mean, he united the kingdoms in name, but when it came to like traveling between the kingdoms, it was very difficult. Obviously, this is like pre-medieval times, pretty much. And so like there was bogs, there was forest, there was swamp, there was all types of terrain and things that separated the kingdoms. And when you build that King's Road, it makes it easier for people to travel, to trade, and it feels more of like the same thing. So Jaehaerys, ruled for 55 years, but even though him and Alysanne had like 13 kids, when it came time to choose the heir, when it came time for Jaehaerys' death, they didn't have an heir. So they went with Viserys. Viserys was Jaehaerys' grandson. Just look into this. It's very juicy. It's very juicy. It's very juicy. Very juicy. Listen, how you have 13 kids and no heirs is a juicy story. Please look it up. Jaehaerys and Alysanne. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Viserys, Jaehaerys' grandson, is who takes over. Now, Viserys is a cool king. He's a good guy. He married Aemma Arryn, who did have Targaryen blood. Viserys was cool because he had his first daughter with his first love, Aemma, which was Rhaenyra. And he loved his daughter. He proclaimed her as his heir. He made the important lords of Westeros come and swear their fealty to his firstborn daughter, Rhaenyra, and say that when I die, you're going to make her queen. Let me get your oath. Let me get your word. This is going to be important for later because now we're going to start talking about the dance of the dragons, okay? So Viserys was a good king, level-headed, fair, good guy, good father, good Targaryen. And all is good until he remarries, okay? So after Aemma died in childbirth, he remarries a high tower named Alysanne. I don't like high towers. I hate high towers. I hate them, hate them, hate them. Alicent Hightower was rumored to be fucking the old King Jaehaerys even before he died. Alicent the Hightower was out there. Alicent the Hightower was not innocent, okay? Don't believe, nah, okay? He married Alicent Hightower, who is so beautiful and who bounced back from all her pregnancies. She's so perfect. Alicent Hightower, her father happened to be Hand of the King. Guess who suggested that Alicent Hightower should be a bride for the king? Hightowers, okay? So Alicent is out here pumping out kids. She pumps out all these kids for Viserys. And still, even though she's pumping out all these kids, Viserys is like, Rhaenyra is still the heir. Like, Rhaenyra is still the one in the council meetings. She is his cupbearer. She is learning how to rule because he completely wanted her to rule after him. But Viserys was just too trusting. There was a lot of shit going on, and he was all about the family and keeping the family together. Please look this up further. But basically what happened is Rhaenyra ended up marrying a gay guy, and she fathered 3 boys, and those boys did not look like the gay guy. Like, shit was a little bit, we don't know what happened, but a lot of shit was going on. Viserys chose to ignore it, but he kept telling the realm, hey, after I die, it's gonna be my daughter up in here. So he died, and it wasn't his daughter up in here. Instead, the Hightower bitch, like I told y'all about, I told y'all Alicent was out here, and her damn dad, they was out here. So the Hightower bitch took her son, who was Aegon, named Aegon, and made and crowned him. So what happened was, when Viserys died, she didn't tell anybody. She told everyone to keep it under wraps. Rhaenyra was on Dragonstone actually giving birth. You think like girl code, you know that if you're, you know, if another girl is pregnant, like, let's give her some slack. Let's give her a chance. No. Rhaenyra was on Dragonstone. She heard that her dad died, and then she heard that her stepmother crowned her half-brother. So Rhaenyra miscarried. Rhaenyra miscarried. And even through all that pain, I've never given birth. But women watching this who have given birth, okay, she gives birth to a stillbirth, okay? So imagine coming from a stillbirth, and now you gotta fight for a kingdom. Just know that Aegon II sat the throne. Then Rhaenyra actually sat the throne for 6 months. We did have a queen in Westeros. Her name was Rhaenyra. She sat the throne. She was crowned. She was up in King's Landing, and her ass was on the Iron Throne for 6 months. But Aegon II, her half-brother, ended up taking that from her, and he actually fed her to his dragon, Sunfire. So Aegon might have sat the throne, like won or whatever. He decided to wipe all of the history of Rhaenyra from record. But someone, we don't know who, we honestly don't know who, poisoned Aegon II. He died. Another succession issue, because just look up blood and cheese, but Aegon had heirs, but they died too. And so it was decided that Aegon III was Rhaenyra's son. Look up the Rogue Prince, look up Nettles. Like, there was a lot going on with the Dance of Dragons. It's the juiciest. The Dance of Dragons makes Game of Thrones look like nothing. Everybody got dragons. Everybody got beef. Everybody fight. It's the juiciest story ever written. It's my favorite thing ever. The Dance of Dragons. Please, if you've never heard of it, please look it up. Aegon III's in power now. Aegon III is Rhaenyra's son. So I'm just going to let you guys know that the rest of Targaryen history, you know, comes from Rhaenyra's line, who did sit the throne. Because there are people out there that want to act like Rhaenyra was never queen. She was queen, okay? And she sired the line that's alive today. So anyway, so we have Aegon III who's in power. Aegon III is known as a Dragonbane because Aegon III, you know, he's had issues with dragons. So I didn't talk about this, but Aegon III was Rhaenyra's son, and he had a brother, Viserys, and Rhaenyra kind of got paranoid about them because she lost 3 boys already, and she had these 2 boys, and she was like, okay, let me just send them away into exile, to like Pentos or some shit. I don't know. I don't remember where, but she was trying to send them away. They were on a ship, and the enemy found out about her plans. They took over the ship, and Aegon III took flight for the first time on his little dragon. His dragon was Stormcloud, and the first and only time he took flight was his dragon, because you know dragons know the distress of their owner, right? His dragon kind of like took him off the ship. Their ship was attacked. And his dragon flew him off the ship, but kind of like crash landed. It was like a big thing. He flew on a dragon once, and they crash landed, and it was horrible. And it was also mixed with the fact that he escaped on his dragon. His dragon saved his life, but it also meant that his brother was just taken by the enemy. His little brother, Viserys, actually ended up being taken away. He thought Viserys was dead for the longest. Also, Aegon III's dragons, Stormcloud, ended up dying. So he rides the dragon, that dragon dies. Next time he's faced with a dragon, it's his uncle feeding his mother to his dragon, Sunfire. And so he understandably is scared of dragons. They call him the Dragonbane because after his rule, that's when dragons kind of left Westeros. That's when all the dragons, after the Dance of the Dragons, pretty much all the dragons died. Something magical happened to cause all the dragons to die. Because from then on, it was like hatchlings. It was like dragons that always died. And after his rule is marked the end of the dragons. That's Aegon III. Dragonbane. Viserys came back from leaves. He had a bride. He had everything. All of a sudden, his brother came back to him. Aegon III, understandably, was very melancholy. But when his brother came back to him, it was, oh, happy day. Oh, happy day when Aegon III was very melancholy. But he was able to sire some sons, right? So after Aegon III died, his son Daeron took over. They call Daeron the Dragon Knight. And the reason they call him the Dragon Knight is because, no, not the Dragon Knight. They called him Daeron the Dragon. Because he was like, I don't got no dragons, but I am the dragon. The fire is in my blood. And what Daeron is known for is actually conquering Dorne. Even Big Daddy Aegon, the baddest who ever did it, couldn't conquer Dorne. And Daeron did, not with dragons, but with militia prowess. So he did that shit. But people always compare Daeron to Robb Stark. And like the young dragon, the young wolf. So the thing with the first Daeron is, yeah, he did conquer Dorne, but Dorne decided to ambush him during like a peace rally, a peace dinner, and Daeron died. Daeron was very young. Daeron was like 14, and he conquered Dorne. But they did take him out. He didn't leave any heirs, so the crown passed to Baelor the Blessed. Baelor the Blessed was like the total opposite of Daeron. Baelor the Blessed was a fucking monk, a fucking priest, a fucking, like, he was all about the 7 gods and that religion. And He didn't consummate his marriages. He had 3 sisters. He decided to lock them in a maiden vault. People either love Baelor the Blessed or they think he was mad. And I think it was a little bit of both. I think he did a lot of good. The statue of Baelor was where Arya was when Ned Stark was beheaded. So like he did leave a legacy. He did build some shit. But he was fasting all the time. And he was making all 100% of his decisions based on religion. He reigned for a time, but he did die from one of his fasts. And Viserys took over. Now Viserys, let me go back. Remember, Viserys was a boy who was stolen by the enemy of Rhaenyra. And everyone assumed he was dead. No one thought of him. And then one day he came back. He was like, yo, what's up, Aegon III? I'm your brother. Aegon III was so happy. Viserys had a wife from Lys and he had 3 children. He had Aegon IV, he had Aegon the Dragon Knight, and he had Daenerys with his wife from Lys. What's important about Viserys is the fact that he was hand to more than one king. He was hand to his brother, which was Aegon III. He was hand to Daeron, and he was hand to Baelor. And they all died young, and they all died without siring any heirs. So the next in line was him, the uncle. So people thought that maybe he killed them so that he can be next in line for succession. But I think that Viserys II was a cool dude. That's what I choose to believe. He only ruled for like a year and a half. That's the crazy thing. Although being hand to 3 kings, he himself only ruled for a year and a half. He died. So then his son, Aegon IV, took power. Aegon IV is Aegon the Unworthy. Aegon the Unworthy. He loved to eat. He loved to fuck. He loved to fight. People compare him to Robert. I think he's way worse than Robert. So Aegon IV, remember, Viserys had 3 kids. Aemon the Dragon Knight, Aegon IV, and Daenerys. Aemon the Dragon Knight and Daenerys are usually compared to Cersei and Jaime, brother and sister. And one is on the King's Guard, which is what Aemon the Dragon Knight was. People say that Aemon the Dragon Knight and Daenerys had a thing going. I don't know. I wasn't there. From Daenerys and Aegon, there was 2 true-born children, Daeron and Daenerys. After that, Aegon the Unworthy, who was a glutton, had many other children from many other high-born women and low-born women. He had a lot of bastards, like over 15. He was a glutton. He loved food. He loved women. He loved wine. He loved a good time. And that's how he used his power as king. When he died, he legitimized all his bastards because he wasn't in love with Daenerys. And singers love to say that Daenerys wasn't in love with him, and Daenerys was in love with Aemon the Dragon Knight, their brother. So, I just want to address this. I don't care about the rumors. Even if Daenerys did cheat on Aegon with Aemon, it's still the blood of the dragon running through people's veins today. So I don't care at all. Aegon the Unworthy didn't love his wife because his wife obviously didn't love him. Daenerys literally went up to him after she gave birth to Daeron. After she gave birth to Daeron, she was like, hey, I did my duty as a wife. I gave you an heir. I gave you a son. Please let us just live as brother and sister. Meaning she didn't want to fuck him no more. She was done. You know what Aegon said? Aegon was like, we are living as brother and sister. Meaning like, as Targaryens, I get to fuck you whenever I want. Right. Aemon the Dragon Knight was in history books known as like the truest, noblest knight that there ever was. like I was saying, Aegon had all his bastards, and it seemed like he liked his bastards more than his true-born kids. Why do you say that? Why do I say that? And the reason I say that is because there's 2 Targaryen swords, right? Both of them went to bastards. He had Blackfyre, the sword of Aegon the Conqueror. He gave it to Daemon. Aegon IV fucked his cousin, Diana. Diana gave birth to Daemon. And Daemon was just, because he was Targaryen on his mother's side and his father's side, he was just a sight to behold. People compared him to a statue of Big Daddy Aegon the Conqueror, okay? And blonde hair, this blonde silver hair, the eyes, and he was a warrior. So much a warrior that his dad gave him Blackfyre. Then he had another bastard named Bloodraven or Brynden Rivers, and he gave her Dark Sister. So his bastards, it seemed that he loved his bastards more than his true-born kids. So he had Daenerys and he had Daeron. Daenerys was married off to Dorne. So in this era, Dorne is entering the realm. Because like I said, Daeron won. He's the one that fucking conquered Dorne. He beat them in battle with no dragons. And then just to solidify that, Daeron II, he married a Dornish person. And his sister Daenerys went to Dorne and she married the prince. So Daenerys had many children for the prince. It seemed like it was a good marriage. He built the water gardens for her. And so Daeron married his wife, who was Mariah Martell. So that's how Dorne, with this era, is when Dorne came into the realm. And Dorne was part of the 7 Kingdoms with war and with marriage. So Daeron II was awesome. Daeron II married a Dornish person. Daeron II was a good all-around guy, but he wasn't a warrior. That's why he didn't earn Blackfyre. He was more bookish. But his half-brother bastard named Daemon looked like a Valyrian with the silver hair and his prowess in battle. He's a built guy. This is what started the Blackfyre Rebellion. Because Aegon gave Blackfyre to Daemon. And people thought that, oh, since he gave Blackfyre to Daemon, that must mean that Aegon the Unlikely wanted Daemon to rule. Except no. Every king like the same way Viserys made all the lords swear and bow and pledge their fealty to Rhaenyra, a woman, he clearly chose his successor. Same thing. So obviously I'm a black and I'm not a green. But same thing with the Blackfyre rebellions. I feel like the Blackfyres are usurpers. Aegon the Unlikely was a gluttonous man. He was not someone who was shy from telling people exactly what he wants. If he wanted Daemon to be king, he would have had the lords come and swear and say that Daemon is king. But he didn't. He did not change the line of succession. He gave the sword to Daemon because Daemon knew how to fight. Daeron did not know how to fight. Why would you give Blackfyre to someone who doesn't know how to fight? Or Black Sister or whatever. So every talent has its reward. Daemon was a fighter, he got Blackfyre. Daeron was legitimately born, he got the kingdom. I don't fuck with greens, and I don't fuck with anyone in favor of the Blackfyres. Fuck them. They're trying to rip apart the realm. Anyways, so Daeron II takes power. Daeron II takes power, and he has 4 sons. Baelor Breakspear is awesome. The only thing is Daeron did have his Dornish wife, Mariah Martell. So Baelor Breakspear was born with like brown hair, brown eyes, and that's like not typical of the Targaryen fashion. Daemon was, and Blackfire Rebellion. Look it up. I'm not gonna go into it because it's bullshit. Baelor Breakspear was just everything you wanted in a dad, everything you wanted in a king. Baelor Breakspear was the shit. But he died in an accident. If you want to know more, read The Hedge Knight, Duncan Egg novellas, The Hedge Knight. It explains everything that happened with Baelor Breakspear, but he died before his time, and his sons died in the spring sickness. Now we're gonna go on to Aerys. So Aerys was a bookish man. He was a nerd. He was a Sam Tarly. He loved prophecies. He loved just being smart and being into the books, but he wasn't really good at ruling. They say he didn't consummate his marriage. I don't fucking know. When he died, he left no heirs. It skipped the third son because of Rhaegal, because he died choking on a pie. And so then it went to the fourth son, which is Maegor. Maegor ruled for a while. Maegor ruled for like 12 years. He was, people compare him to Stannis. So he ruled just kind of like, this is my duty. This is what I have to do, whether I like it or not. So that was Maegor. He was a fourth son that somehow came to rule. And he had 4 sons. His first son was Daeron the Dreamer. Daeron the Dreamer died of pox because he had dragon dreams that drove him crazy. I think deep down he was a good person, but I just think the dragon dreams just drove him to mischief. Sorry. So he died of the pox. Next was Aerion. Aerion was a Euron. Aerion was a nightmare. Aerion Bright Flame, they call him, because he thought that drinking wildfire will turn him into a dragon. And it didn't. It just killed him. So he died. He is the only Targaryen to name his son Maegor. So Daeron the Dreamer is gone. Aerion Bright. The third son was Aemon. Aemon was, you guys know Aemon. He's in Game of Thrones. Maester Aemon at the Wall. He was the third son of Maegor. And they actually did quietly offer him the throne, and he didn't take it. He had already sworn his vows as a maester, and he was like, fuck you guys. Fuck you. So that left the fourth son, which was Aegon V. Aegon the Unlikely. They called him the Unlikely because he was the fourth son of a fourth son. And Aegon the Unlikely is in my top 3 of the best rulers of Westeros. And the thing that made him such a great ruler is that he ran around with Dunk. What kind of alcohol is this? Why is it so nasty? It's so nasty. I guess I'll just pour it into the rest of this because I cannot drink any more of this. I can't. Oh my god, I cannot drink any more of that. I was trying to be cool. I was trying to be, do some shots, but Aegon the Unlikely. Whoa. Aegon the Unlikely. Do you guys want to be all up in my face? Do you? Do you? No, you don't. over here. Aegon the Unlikely, Aegon V, was the best king because he was half a commoner, which means that if you read the tales of Dunk and Egg, you'll learn about Dunk and Egg. Egg is actually Aegon the Unlikely, Aegon V. And the cool thing is that Aegon V literally lived as a peasant. He knew what it was like to sleep on the hard floor. He knew what it was like to have the High Lords play their Game of Thrones and have the small folk be the ones responsible for it. So, when Aegon became king, he remembered the small folks. He kept them in line with all his decision making. But obviously, the people on the High Council were High Lords, not small folks, so they didn't really mesh. They didn't really get along. Aegon V decided that he needed dragons to make people listen to his rules, to make people care about the small folk. And so he wanted to birth dragons again. And there was a disaster at Summerhall. Summerhall, craziness. That's actually where Aegon V and some Targaryens died. But it's also where Rhaegar was born. What? What's that? Okay. Rhaegar was born amidst the tragedy of Summerhall. Poor guy. Baby. Poor baby. Poor baby. And so what that means is basically that, like, the rule passed from Aegon V, the fourth son of a fourth son, Aegon the Unlikely, passed to Jaehaerys. Now, Aegon did have a son before Jaehaerys. That was Duncan, named after Duncan the Tall, commander of his Kingsguard, his ace, Boom Con, his little Betty. And he died at Summerhall. But the thing with Duncan, so here's the thing about Aegon V, Aegon the Unlikely. He didn't like that incest shit. Aegon the Unlikely married a Blackwood. He was about that Blackwood shit. He was about that true love shit. He married Beth of Blackwood. Even though he did that true love shit, he betrothed all his children to High Lords of Westeros, such as Tyrell, such as Tully, such as Baratheon. And one by one, his children broke their betrothals. They watched their son. They watched their dad marry for love, and they wanted that same shit too. Number one is his son Duncan. Duncan chose to marry a commoner, Jenny of Oldstones, and because of that, he had to abdicate the throne and give the throne to his younger brother Jaehaerys. Jaehaerys didn't listen to his dad either. Jaehaerys married his sister because that was his true love, apparently. And he told his dad, hey, I'm marrying for love, just like you did, and just like my older brother did. The difference between Jaehaerys and Duncan is that Duncan married a commoner, and Jaehaerys married a Targaryen. So Jaehaerys didn't have to abdicate his throne, basically. And then, basically, all of Aegon the Unlikely's kids married who the fuck they wanted to, or broke the betrothals, except for Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is the only one who fathered Rhaenyra. So Rhaenyra was the only one to follow tradition and follow her father's orders, and she married who her daddy told her to, which was a Baratheon. But everyone else did their own thing. So the tragedy of Summerhall, Google it. The tragedy at Summerhall happened, and Aegon V died, which left Jaehaerys as the heir. And Jaehaerys became king. Jaehaerys was like an alright king. I haven't heard anything bad, haven't heard anything good about his reign. But what's interesting is that, remember Jenny of Oldstones, who was married to Duncan, She brought a woods witch to court. That woods witch proclaimed that the prince that was promised would come from Aerys and Rhaenyra's line, which called, so imagine Aerys and Shara, he married his sister Shara, right? And he married her for love. So when they had kids, he forced to marry. And because he thought it would be for love since it worked out for him. It didn't. Rhaenyra and Aerys were like enemies. They're so different. But they were forced to marry because the witch had the prophecy that the prince that was promised would come from their line. So they were forced to marry. So after the tragedy of Summerhall, where Aegon V, Aegon the Unlikely, was trying to possibly hatch dragons. After that tragedy, Rhaegar was born, Jaehaerys took power, and after he died, his son, Aerys II, took power. Aerys II was known to be cool. He was like a ladies' man. He was like fit. He was awesome. People even considered him smart. And he took power. He had his son Rhaegar, but his sister wife had like 12 miscarriages. And that drove him mad. He went mad for so many reasons, but he was known as Mad King Aerys or King Scab because the Iron Throne cut him so much. And you know the Iron Throne don't fucking play. The Iron Throne don't fucking play. If you're not fucking worthy, the Iron Throne gonna cut you up. Okay? Okay. The Iron Throne don't fucking play. If the Iron Throne don't like you, the Iron Throne gonna cut you up. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. The Iron Throne is gonna get you. Alright. So, Aerys II and his wife, Rhaenyra. They had Rhaegar, Viserys, and Daenerys. So many theories going on, especially about the birth. A lot of people claim that the Aerys II, the Mad King, was actually sterile. And the only way he was able to birth living children was to make a sacrifice. Only death can pay for life. Right, Mary Mazdor? So basically, it's like Rhaegar was able to be born because he was born in Summerhall, where like there were so many deaths. Only death can pay for life. And then there's Viserys and Daenerys were always, their births were consummated when Aerys would burn someone. And he would get hot from that and he would rape his sister wife. But theories tinfoil. And King Scab was, you know, the Mad King. He was crazy. He was crazy. He was the one that caused all this thing to happen. And the thing with King Scab is that he was crazy. He caused everything to happen in the current timeline, and also like, well, actually before him, but you know, Robert's rebellion was directly a result from him burning the Starks, Brandon and Rickon. Brandon and, you know, burning Brandon and burning Ned Stark's dad. Like, that was crazy. The Iron Throne was always cutting him. I guess that was like trying to say that he was unworthy. Anyways, so now we're caught up. I guess I could add Robert Baratheon. He is a quarter Baratheon. His grandmother was Rhaenyra Targaryen, which made his father, Stefan, half Targaryen, which made Stannis, Renly, and Robert a quarter Targaryen each. That was how he claimed the throne. I guess through Targaryen rule, but really through conquest. So if you want to count Robert as a Targaryen because he has a quarter of it in his blood, cool, I'm with ya. And if you don't want to, cool, I'm with ya. But that's the end. Okay. I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna finish all the drinking that I have, which is just these two. And oh wow. Okay. Empty. Let me drink everything before I say this. Oh. Empty. My margarita. Oi, Zorro, you come to save the day. Well, that's very nice and very welcome. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Bum ba bum. The Drink and Know Things Challenge. Okay. So, here are the rules. Why am I doing my hands like this? Why? Here are the rules. You can drink whatever you want. You can drink. I'm gonna behave, I promise. You can drink whatever you want. You can drink however much you want. And it's totally up to you. You know what your limits are. Then, when you're all drunk and buzzed, then you have to list the Targaryen Kings from Aegon to Mad King Aerys. And for bonus, why not? I'm trying so hard to be good. Why am I doing this? For bonus, you can add Robert. I shouldn't be drinking anymore, but can you tell that there's nasty, nasty vodka in here? Can you tell? Nasty. Nasty! Nasty boys. Oh, you nasty boy. What was I doing drinking this? Okay, here we go. That was half of it. That was half of it. I'm shaking right now. I have no chaser. When I've been drinking a lot, I can't even take, I don't even know how much I've drank at this point. But it's gonna be a thing. I got my timer. Can you see it? You could see it. I got my timer. It's really hot in here. It's really hot in here. I got my timer going, just to prove that I'm not cheating, and I'm gonna close my eyes because just so you guys know that I'm not reading off of anything. Okay, I'm actually really scared to start because I know I'm gonna fuck up. I know I'm gonna fuck up. No, I'm not gonna fuck. I can open my eyes. I haven't started yet. I'm not gonna fuck up. I'm not. I promise, because this is my life. A Song of Ice and Fire is my life. I'm proud of it. I like it. It's good. Okay. Drink and Know Things challenge. Here we go. Starting. Now my eyes are gonna starting to close. Okay, Aegon 1, Big Daddy Aegon. Okay, that was easy, all right? That one was easy. After Big Daddy Aegon is going to be bitch ass Aenys, okay? No bitch ass. Weak ass. After Aenys is gonna be Maegor the Cool. Maegor the Cool, okay? After Maegor the Cool is gonna be Jaehaerys, old man Jaehaerys. After old man Jaehaerys is Viserys. Viserys, I don't have a nickname for Viserys. Maybe Viserys with the cooler brother. Okay. After Viserys is Aegon II, and then Rhaenyra. Don't forget Rhaenyra, who did sit on the Iron Throne, who did have a crown on her head. And after Rhaenyra is back to Aegon II. And then after Aegon II is Aegon III, Dragonbane, my little baby. I just want to hug him so hard. Dragonbane! After Dragonbane is Daeron, the young dragon, or Daeron? Daeron or Daeron. And then after that is Baelor the Cool. Baelor the Blessed. Baelor the Blessed. And then after Baelor is after Baelor is Viserys II. Okay? Viserys II. Viserys the adult. Gets things done. And then after Viserys II is Aegon the Unworthy. He was unworthy. And then after Aegon IV, it is Daeron II. Okay? Daeron II. After Daeron II is... Oh God, why am I so drunk? Daeron II. Who is after Daeron II? Okay, he has 4 sons. He's gonna have another 4 sons. Okay, Daeron II. After Daeron II is Ares I. Asexual Ares. Asexual Ares. After Ares is Maegor. And after Maegor is actually Aegon V. Aegon the Unlikely. And then after Aegon V is Jaehaerys II. Jaehaerys the Forgettable. What the fuck did he did? I don't fucking know. And then after Jaehaerys II is King Scab. Ares II. Mad King Ares. And then that's it for last name Targaryen. Then we got Bobby B. And then the rest, you know the rest. Took me 3 minutes to do that. Now it's your turn. Your turn. You drink and you know things. Do this video. Tag me. Find me. I'm Girl Nettles on Twitter. I'm Girl Nettles on Instagram. I'm Girl Nettles here on YouTube. Do it! I'm gonna go to rehab now. Bye-bye.